morning from Heaton Bay Campground on the Dillon Reservoir in Colorado. On this trip, we're going to be going to Aspen, Telluride, Colorado Springs, to the Garden of the Gods, and so much in between. And this is just going to be a scenery safari, this trip. It's going to be camping, hiking, and just taking it all in, the outdoors. Lake Dillon, also known as the Dillon Reservoir, provides water to the city of Denver, and it's stocked with 50,000 trout a year. It's a popular place for ice fishing in the wintertime, snowmobiling. In the summertime here, you could find people sailing. There's some world-class ski resorts around here, like you got Copper Mountain, Keystone, Breckenridge. Breckenridge is only half hour south from here. Today we're going to just kind of explore the campground a little bit, eat, get some coffee, and then make our way to Aspen. On the way to Aspen, we're going to be passing through Leadville, the highest city above sea level in the US, and then Independence Pass, which I'm really excited about.
You want a pet chipmunk?
Yeah, they're so cute.
We are feeling the altitude a little bit, coming from Florida right to 9,000 feet above sea level. We rented a Tahoe, which is a lot bigger than I would normally rent, but that gives us the option to sleep in the car because it was really cold last night, snowing last night here actually. Time to hit the road. Just passing through the town of Leadville, very historic town for mining like many in Colorado, and they have this train that we discovered, scenic tour, 2.5 hours long, all the way to the Continental Divide. We would love to ride it if we had time. If you're ever in Leadville, definitely look this up, the Leadville, Colorado and Southern Railroad.
If I die here in the wild, the vines will bury me. Keep my body from the birds, my soul will be made clean.
We had a lot of cute stuff in there, and I got something for Evelyn. It's a moose. And I got something for us.
Upon the other side of the ridge, what waits upon the other side of the ridge.
Right on the edge of Independence Pass now, almost to the top of it. Unreal views. Hello, downtown Aspen. Just wanted to stop here and get a bite to eat before we go to our campground. Our campground is about 10 minutes away. Just haven't really ever been to Aspen, so gotta check it out. We're at Difficult Campground in White River National Forest. Colorado has nearly 24.5 million acres of forested landscape.
I have everything ready for breakfast for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's lots of animals in White River National Forest, although we've yet to really see many. You have deer, elk, moose, bobcat, lynx, mountain goat, mountain sheep, mountain lion, bear, of course.
I just talked to the host. She said to definitely use the bear bins because there's been 10 bear sightings.
Are you serious?
Recently, yeah.
Last night?
I don't know if it was last night. She just said, you know, to use them.
Bears are still very much around right now this time of year in the fall. They will start to hibernate sometime in November depending on their food supply and how much snowfall there is, but the bears do not go into hibernation actually. They go into a very deep sleep called torpor. The bears are still very much able to wake up quickly, so if they were alarmed, they can get up and go see what's going on. This is by far the most amazing place I have camped yet. It's Silver Bell Campground, and we got really lucky. We showed up early so that we might have a chance of getting a tent spot, and we did. Maroon bells are right there, just 5 miles away.
Crater Lake?
Yeah, that's the one that we're gonna do is Crater Lake.
Okay.
All right, it is time to go do some hiking. Here we are at the famous view of the Maroon Bells. In about a month from now, a lot of the trees out here will be yellow, orange, red, all different kinds of colors, and there will probably be 100 photographers here taking the same photo, but for good reason.
What you can do for your country.
We're about halfway to Telluride from Aspen, and we just entered wine country in Colorado. A lot of people don't realize that Colorado has a lot of great vineyards, and this one's called Leroux Creek. So we're gonna go do a little wine tasting.
Getting married right now?
No, that's my phone. That's my alarm for the eggs.
Colorado wine. This is Lizardhead Pass, and I think this is where we're gonna camp tonight. Beautiful panoramic views, future goals right there. Now we're probably about half hour outside Telluride, and what's great about this place is you can set up a tent or you can sleep in your vehicle.
All we have to do is add a few more rocks and
Yeah.
have a campfire place, and we're like
You can make your own fire pit wherever you want in this field. As long as it's not too windy, you gotta be careful. Right now, the winds are very calm. I just put my bag for the sleeping pad over this lantern, and it was a super white, harsh light. Now it's nice and soft. We just finished getting organized, and we're gonna camp here tonight. We're just next to Trout Lake. Tomorrow, we'll go back into Telluride. Good morning from Trout Lake. It was just a 5-minute drive from where we were camping, so I had to get down here for the sunrise. I mean, the sun's already risen, but it's about to peek over the mountain here and light this place up. It's gonna be quite a show. And it's a little chilly. I mean, there's definitely some ice out here in the lake. It's getting down into the low 30s at night. And I'm just gonna enjoy this show. Always picking up after people. Look who's awake and look who has coffee for you.
Hey, thanks. That's nice.
Telluride! I love this place. We're about to go ride the gondola, which is the only free public transportation gondola system of its kind in North America. It was built in 1996 for $16 million. Cost just over $3 million to maintain. We're gonna have some beautiful views of the town. Pretty soon the ski lift behind me will be running and there will be snow and lots of skiing here. That was wild. You just walk right on. And there's a ton of mountain biking going on right now because that's what's happening here in the warmer seasons. I was gonna say, I want to go rent a mountain bike now. I know. That looks like so much fun. Just past the campground downtown in Telluride, and it's one of the coolest campgrounds because you're staying right on Main Street. You're camping, but you're still close to everything. And here's the bank up here of Telluride. Butch Cassidy actually robbed his first bank in Telluride in 1889. Walked away with about $24,000, which is a lot more back then than it is now. And it was actually the first city to have electric streetlights. But as far as traffic lights go, you won't find one here within 45 miles of the town. If you keep driving through town, you will end up at the end of the Box Canyon at this gorgeous spot. This is Bridalveil Falls up here, Colorado's highest freestanding waterfall, 365 feet high, and there's a hydroelectric plant. It was built in 1907 as one of the very first AC power plants, and it's one of the oldest still operating in the US. We're also getting some really nice fall colors here. And then these lakes down here are very interesting green, something to do with the mining company. But yeah, this is the end of the Box Canyon, surrounded by cliff faces. There's some crazy people about to go do some rock climbing. This is a 4x4 road back here that you can drive to the base of the falls as well. If you are gonna do this hike, expect there to be some vehicles along the way and people biking, ATVs, just something to keep in mind. We've begun our journey on Last Dollar Road, one of the most beautiful roads in Colorado, just outside Telluride. And at the beginning of this road, when you're leaving Telluride, is the airport, Telluride Regional Airport. And at 9,078 feet above sea level, it's the highest commercial airport in North America. It offers a very challenging approach for a pilot, but breathtaking views. And now we're gonna continue our journey on Last Dollar Road. We'll be staying in a cabin tonight at the other end of Last Dollar Road and then making our way to Salida, Colorado tomorrow. Here we are surrounded in a tunnel of aspen trees, one of the most fascinating trees in the world. This is one of the first trees that will sprout after a wildfire or an avalanche. It's one of the fastest growing species of tree. And if you ever look at a mountain and you see a side of a mountain that has a huge grove on it, that could possibly mean that there was an avalanche there. And that's where a grove spawned back. It's so interesting because they're all one single living organism. So one tree will sprout up and the other trees will actually sprout from the roots. So the roots will grow out, new trees will sprout from the root, making them one entity really. So Utah has a grove that is so massive it could possibly be the largest single living organism in the world. They produce a flower called a catkin. It's one of the first food sources for bears in the springtime after hibernation, or torpor would be the proper term. So bears will often climb these aspen trees and search for that catkin. And they also have a white powder on them that some people use as a sunscreen. And I think that also helps protect the trees. It's really cool. We're like the only ones here, you know? We have this whole road to ourselves right now. Right at the end of the driveway from the cabin we were staying at last night is the set of True Grit, the opening and ending scene of the original 1969 movie, John Wayne. It's in the process of being restored right now, which is great. Another thing that I learned is Last Dollar Road got its name because it used to be a toll road to get to Telluride. And it was nicknamed Last Dollar because you gotta save your last dollar to be able to use the toll road. We decided to stay in the town of Salida, and boy, is it interesting. It has so much rich history. It's actually the largest historical district in Colorado. And we ended up staying at the Palace Hotel just across the street from this beautiful park. It's right on the river, the Arkansas River. Beautiful town, so much history. There used to be duels and gunfights here. People were hung, and there was a railroad. The city burned down a couple times. It's just very interesting. And Mick, the front desk agent at the Palace Hotel, knows a lot of the history here, and he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. So I'm gonna sit down and listen to a couple stories about Salida, Colorado.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories, I think. There was an evening, and it had to do with the Italian camp. So the Italians were over living on 2nd, I believe, and Sackett. So right up the street here. They weren't always able to heat their homes. The company who owned the coal, they automatically just allowed people to take the coal freely to heat their homes. For years and years this happened until one fateful night they had a new foreman. The new foreman decided, hey, we're going to protect our coal. We're not going to let these immigrants take it. We can get extra money for that. The railroad workers did not like that. They rebelled. So the marshal realized there was going to be a problem, and so he took the new foreman and locked him into the jail cell so the lynching mob who showed up to get the foreman wouldn't kill him. Shots were fired. I think that, of course they got the gentleman, tied him up to the telephone pole. He was hanging from a telephone pole when in the morning the train showed up from Denver. The person that was driving the train was in terror. He kept going. So they went through to the next stop. That's when they reported the incident, and the Denver newspapers picked it up, and that's when Salida was known from that point as the hanging. The lynching town. It was known as the lynching town. When the Palace Hotel opened in 1906, it was within the red light district area, which extended from First Street all the way to Tenderfoot. There were 44 rooms upstairs. They turned them into 14 suites. Back in 1909, nobody had a bathroom. There was a communal shared bathroom. Now they all have kitchens, and each suite has a kitchen.
Really neat that Mick was willing to sit down and share some stories about Salida. What a cool guy. Now we're gonna go get some lunch and continue our way to Colorado Springs, where we'll actually be staying just on the border of Manitou Springs with access to the Garden of the Gods, where we'll spend our final day in Colorado tomorrow. We've made it to our tiny home in Manitou Springs, where we'll be staying for the next couple of nights. Manitou Springs is nestled right next to Colorado Springs. This is our tiny home right here. Beautiful backyard area and a nice little garden in the back. We also have a view of Pikes Peak. Catherine Lee Bates, who wrote the song America the Beautiful, claimed that she was inspired by Pikes Peak, hiking on Pikes Peak, and that's where she got a lot of the inspiration for her very popular song. Right here on the border of Garden of the Gods, we have a couple of access points that we can hike to in the morning. We'll probably hit them pretty early so we can get in there before it gets crowded. Very, very historic place. I'll talk more about that tomorrow.
Best dog hikes, Colorado.
Nice. You ready to go into town?
Yeah, let's go get some Mexican.
Porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones.
This is the Garden of the Gods, right at the foot of Pikes Peak. A man by the name of Charles Eliot Perkins bought a big portion of this land in 1879, and then his family inherited it, and in the early 1900s, they sold it to the city under very specific stipulations, one of them being that this park will forever remain free to the public. It is one of the most popular parks in the world. But if you get here early enough like we did, you have plenty of freedom to enjoy this place without many people around. The known human history goes back 3,000 years, where Native Americans used this as a neutral ground. It was considered sacred, and even if opposing tribes were here, everyone was required to lay down their weapons. There was actually a dinosaur discovered here as well. It was the only dinosaur of its kind, but it took 100 years for the technology to catch up to be able to prove that it was a new dinosaur. And then it was named after this park. So this is it, the Garden of the Gods, our last destination on our road trip through Colorado. We still have so much to see in this state. Can't wait to come back. Thanks so much for tagging along with us. If you've been to Colorado and you have any stories you want to share, I'd love to hear them. Or maybe you're inspired to go here. I would love to hear from you. Can't wait to share more adventures with you. Signing off for now.